Beautiful. So, do you have a context, something that you'd like to work on? You don't need to tell me what it is, but you have something that would be useful.
Yes.
Okay, so that thing, that whole thing, what's that like?
What is it like? What do you mean, what is it like?
Yeah, that whole thing, what's it like?
It as a whole, well, it's a behavior that I
Okay, cool. So that's you analyzing what you do that you don't necessarily like. I don't want
right.
to know that. I want to know what that whole thing's like.
It's a limitation, I would say, is what it's like.
Okay, so that's your reflection on how it negatively impacts your life. I get that, but I don't want to know that. I want to know what it's like. It's a simple question, but a little bit challenging to answer. So, what's that
Right.
whole thing like?
Gosh. Without trying to analyze it, I don't know. What is it? It's not, it is a limitation, it's a restriction, but that's just me analyzing it again. What's it like? So metaphorically, it's like a rock, I
Okay,
guess.
okay, it's like a rock. What's to your left?
Um, what is to the left? Open space to the
Open
left.
space like what? Like a field, a meadow, a car
Yeah.
park?
Well, like a field, like a grass field.
Okay, cool. And what's to your right?
Some trees are to the right.
Okay, cool. What's in front?
Well, the rock is directly in front of me, a big rock.
So there's a big rock in front of you. Okay, cool. And what's behind you?
Um, more the open field. It's
More of the
yeah,
open.
it's like I'm walking directly towards this rock in this open field, and it only seems to either climb over the rock or I could go to the left, but off to the right is just a bunch of trees.
Okay, cool. How big is this rock, would you say?
Uh, it's as big as a car, probably like a big car or a small SUV.
Okay, cool. So it's a pretty big rock. Not ginormous, but a pretty big rock. Okay,
Yeah,
what you standing on?
I'm standing I'm standing in grass in the field. Just like I said, it's like a giant open field, and for some reason I've walked right to standing directly in front of this giant rock.
Good.
So
What's up?
blue sky.
Let's go. And in real life, Stephen, in real life, how do you deal with this thing? How do you deal with this in real life?
How do I just walk around it.
No, no, in real life. In real life.
In real life, how do I deal with it? I try different ways of dealing with it to either to get past it or to just postpone the source of the problem um until it comes up again,
O-
basically. So I
Okay.
come up with some way to get to avoid to just kind of step
You
how
avoid it. You avoid it.
yeah, I get like a temporary solution is what happens.
Okay, so find a temporary solution.
Right.
But it doesn't sound really like a solution because
No,
it comes up again.
it works in that moment, but I realize that that situation is going to come up again and again because I haven't really figured out how to dissolve uh, whatever is behind the issue.
Got you. Okay, beautiful. So I'm going to show you a pretty picture. We can test how my artwork skills are. So there's you standing on grass, grass to your left, grass behind you, open field. There's a big rock in front of you, and there's trees to the right. Is that about it?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
cool. And when you say trees, you said a few trees. Is it like a forest, a wood, or just a couple of trees?
I can't see through it, so it's almost like a tree line. I'm not sure how far it goes,
Okay, so
but
there's
it's not just like a few trees. I can't see through it to anything on the other side.
okay, cool, lovely. So in this situation, I mean, it's quite a natural situation to be in. Some might say. Now, you could take steps in the right direction, but you would hit essentially a barrier. There'd be something that would take you away from the field that you're currently outstanding in and move you in a different direction. Now, sometimes we need to move in the right direction, sometimes people find it useful, but if you were to progress too far in the right direction, you might not be able to see the wood from the trees, you might find yourself a little bit lost, and you'd be in an environment that's very different to the one that you currently find yourself in.
Okay.
Now, similarly, the background to this and what's left for you is pretty similar to where you're standing. I mean, you've got a pretty natural understanding of the situation, and I mean, it's growing. I mean, you're outstanding in your field, and nobody can really argue that. Or maybe you're outstanding in somebody else's field. That I'm not quite sure of.
That is possible.
But what you look forward to is solid. It's unmovable. If anything, some people might say what you look forward to, I mean, it could be a rock, or it could be what you look forward to is bolder than you. Now, what's interesting about rocks is they're pretty reliable. They don't really move, they don't really go anywhere. So what you're looking forward to is solid, it's immovable, but it's also stopping you from progressing.
Okay.
Because what's interesting in life and in a lot of personal development, they're like, you just got to keep taking steps, keep moving forward, keep moving forward. But the trouble you have right now is you've got a huge rock in the way.
Right. And I don't want to just walk around it. I want to not have the rock in the way anymore. I don't want to keep walking into these giant rocks and then having to just walk around them, temporarily speaking.
But what is interesting is you look forward to something quite sizable blocking the direction in which you're going. Because I don't know about you, but if I was walking through a field, I'd see a big rock and I'd start to take steps to avoid it to begin with.
Right. That's the part where I'm like, it's like I'm walking directly towards the rock for some reason.
So I look at this and I'm like, who is this person? Who is this person who ends up with a huge rock blocking their path? Oh, someone who's not paying attention to the direction they're going.
Yeah.
Now, it's quite interesting because this rock within metaphor represents an obstruction, it's called. Now, normally obstructions represent in metaphor as a wall, pretty standard. Like you probably heard people feel like I'm hitting my head up against the brick walls, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now, there's a few ways to deal with this. So, if let's just say we're up against, well, we've got a wall in front of us. How could we deal with that?
Well, you can climb over it, you can walk around it.
Okay, so you could get over it, you could go around it. Yeah.
Yeah. You could probably break through it if you really wanted to.
If you're a Tony Robbins fan, you know.
Yeah.
Cheeky little breakthrough.
Yeah. You could dig underneath it.
Yeah. Psychoanalyst style, get to the bottom of things, the root cause and stuff. Yeah. So in life, we have stereotypical ways that we deal, and this is essentially rules. Walls or obstructions represent rules, something that we can't do. Now, for example, in your case, I mean, you can't really move forward. I mean, you can, but either you need to get over it, and that would take a little bit of effort.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I wouldn't personally recommend trying to get to the bottom of it because who knows how deep this fucker goes.
Right.
But you could try getting around it. Also, if you're someone who likes to just break through, just keep going, break through, I mean, you're going to have a hard time with a bit of a rock.
Yeah.
Maybe you look forward to rocking, who knows?
No, not really.
So let's just imagine, Stephen, you and I are walking down a strange road and we see this guy standing in a field, grass to his left, grass behind him, tree line to the right, and a big rock in front of him. We know how to deal with this. We know how. Just find a temporary solution. Good advice.
Yeah. Until another rock shows up.
So is it really good advice, Stephen? Say no.
No, it's not. It's
Any better advice for this poor unfortunate soul?
be in a different field.
Update to the advice, Stephen. Be in a different field.
Yeah, I mean, don't be in the field where the rocks are, I guess. It was,
Update to the advice. Don't be in rocky fields. Well, what's actually quite interesting about this, so there's two normal types of metaphor in a way. So you've got people who are on a journey, that standard coaching, we're all on a journey, taking steps forward, la da 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 da. So realistically, this is a guy who's on a path, he's got direction. I mean, it's a road that's been paved for him, he maybe knows where he's going, there's some sort of way he can progress, and he's got pretty solid guidelines. What's interesting about yours, I think to this and I'm like, where is this guy? Does he even know where he is? Because I mean, there are trees to the right and there is a rock in front of him. But if he didn't have those, he'd just be out in a field.
yeah. So
And
maybe that's why I keep walking into the rock. That's the only thing that kind of would direct a path, right?
No, I mean, there's no paths in this. There's nothing not necessarily wrong with paths. Like, some people need a path. They need a guideline. If you look at the standard courses they sell to coaches online, follow my 10-step program. That's a path. That's a guideline. That's a do these things. If you follow the path I'm giving you, you will get to a destination. Now, there are some people who forge paths themselves. Like, sometimes you've got creative modalities or things, or let's just imagine they know no one else who's done this sort of thing. They will find themselves wandering in different directions because there's no specific guideline to follow.
Right.
But the thing that strikes me about this guy, so the rock is right in front of him. The trees are to his right. Now, one of the things about metaphor as well, because there's so much fascinating knowledge in here. But the big thing is, to achieve an outcome, to really get a goal, to like win at life, or to actually go somewhere meaningful, we need four things. We need a direction, we need a distance, we need a mode, and we need a rate. So by saying that, direction is okay, where you're going. Distance is how far away it is. Mode is do we have a mechanism to get there? And rate is how fast we could get there. So if I look at this, okay, does this guy have a mode of transportation? I mean, he can walk, so that's fine. He's got you got legs. You got legs, and this has got legs. Now, obviously, you can only go as fast as you could walk and you can run. But the point is, the only things that you're conscious of in this environment is something that's right for you and something that's straightforward. But that's really quite close. So my question is, where do you actually want to go that's more than this? Like, what is the actual direction you want to go in? I had a situation not so long ago where, I mean, I'm not super slim, but I was fat. I had like a belly and just before New Year's, I decided I'm going to do a half marathon. Boom. It was before New Year's, so got over the little New Year's sort of thing that fails.
Yeah.
Booked it in, scheduled it in, midway through the year, started running, started going to the gym, started doing all that sort of stuff. About 3 months before the end, started to take a little bit of a break on it. I realised I've got this pattern that I give up before the end, or at least that's my issue. Looking at it, right, I got further. I did the half marathon. I still had a gut. I still had a belly, and I'm like, I wanted to get rid of the belly. So it's like, okay, well, I had a relative direction, but the direction in which I was traveling wasn't actually getting me to where I wanted to go. So I was like, okay, and I actually saw a few friends of mine from Prague, the Czech Republic, and every year they dress up as Spartans.
Nice.
Like, I can't be the fat Spartan. So I was like, so I booked to go on this thing with them, and it was all good. Now, I worked out and I did the stuff, and I really got a lot further. I actually turned up, and these guys, they work out, let's say, at least 5-6 days a week, and they're pretty ripped. And I'm like, the image I had in my mind of what I wanted to look like, I'm like, these guys work out a hell of a lot. And my image of how I wanted to look was quite different. So it's quite interesting the sort of goal I'd set myself and how that looked in the actual reality. But the point is, by having something slightly further away, knowing where we're going to go, you can foresee what sort of barriers might come up and be in the way. Whereas in this situation, if we're not paying attention or a bit short-sighted, you might just find yourself coming up against it.
Right, because I don't have anything past over here that would lead
I
me.
mean, I mean, you might do, but I could understand how your view of what you look forward to or what you even want maybe might be obscured. So let's just try something for a minute, Stephen. So just close your eyes. And standing there in that field, rock in front, trees to the right, grass to the left, grass behind, just take a step forward and tell me what you notice.
I'm like walking right into the rock. I'm not.
And what happens?
It's just like I'm just walking in place, not really moving anywhere.
And how does that change things?
It doesn't. It
Okay.
just digs a hole in front of the rock.
Hmm. A pretty low place to be, I can imagine, or it's getting lower. Okay, so go back to the original position you're in and just take a step to the left and tell me what you notice.
The path opens up. I can see off in the distance now. I'm not looking right at the rock.
And what happens?
I can move forward and see past like the hill, past the horizon.
And how does that change things?
Um I can feel like I'm progressing. I'm actually getting somewhere.
Hmm. Go back to the original position.
Okay.
Take a step back and tell me what you notice.
I can see uh past the rock. So I've stepped back. I can still see the trees. I can still see the rock, but I can see an opening, not a path per se, but an opening off to the left that I could go that way
Hmm.
instead of into the rock or into the trees.
And what happens?
I find myself wanting to walk towards the open field instead of into the rock.
And how does that change things?
Um, I can, and it's like I can take a sigh of relief
Hmm.
because I'm actually getting somewhere and I'm not just stuck staring at this rock.
Beautiful. Go back to the original position, take a step to your right and tell me what you notice.
It's I'm staring at the trees and it's just confusing because I can't see through the trees.
And what happens?
I don't want to walk forward. I'm just stopped because I'm not sure what's on the other end of it.
And how does that change things?
It makes me want to go back and stare at the rock because at least there's a, a a definite thing.
Hmm, got it. Okay, go back to the original position. Feel free to open your eyes. So what's quite interesting is when you try and progress, you just dig yourself in deeper. If anything, you get maybe you feel a little bit let down by you trying to actually progress with this thing. And sometimes we try and do what's right for us. We try to explore what's right. But when you try to explore what's right, you can't really see what's right. And it makes you want to look forward to something that's pretty solid. But if you just take a moment back and take a step back, you can actually see a path that's different and you can be left to take steps. Fascinating. Any thoughts, observations, anything you'd like to share?
Um, yeah. So if I notice the issue that we're dealing with coming up, that would be the time to take a step back and find a way around whatever rock or trees, forest might be coming up. So I don't have to encounter it at all. Is kind of what that seems like. But I think I'm not, if I'm not looking forward enough, I won't see that the rock and the trees are coming up until I'm right in front of them, and then it's too late to change direction. That's kind of what it sounds like to me.
So what I'm hearing is, Stephen, pay attention to what you look forward to.
Hmm.
Interesting. I'm going to stop the recording there, and then we feel free to chat.
That's cool.